Here, hold on.
Coach, I'm Grant, by the way. Nice to meet
Oh
you.
yeah, and we don't ever fucking introduce him, but this is Grant. He just graduated from Iowa. He's our producer.
Hey Grant,
Nice to
good
meet you,
to
Coach.
good to be on here. Good to meet you as well.
He's we just give him the shitty stuff. He'll clip you up, make you look really good on Twitter.
He's like a GA, right?
He is our GA, yeah, essentially. Drake,
His
you can bring us
initials
in.
are GA.
Yeah, so
And
you
they
get
are
all the
GA.
you get all the shit jobs, Grant.
Yeah, but
Welcome back,
just
gang.
like we give Shane $20 to make a quiz for us every now and then. We give him a bone every now and then.
There you go.
Drake,
There
you can
you
bring
go.
us in whenever, officially.
Welcome back, gang. This is Wash the Walk-ons podcast, and today we got a pretty fucking special one. You know I don't come back here very often, so if I'm here, the guest must be pretty fucking cool. And today we get to chop it up with the GOAT, the best linebackers coach in college football. What's your title now? The co-head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes, the assistant head
to the
coach.
head coach, right?
The assistant to the head coach of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Goat Wallace. And when you mention this guy's name, watch your fucking mouth. Make sure you put some respect on it. Coach Wallace, it's great to have you, man.
Good to be here with you, Drake, and Kevin and Grant and Tyler. I appreciate the opportunity, and
The opportunity.
I've always been fond of what you guys do, and it's certainly a privilege, but more than anything, appreciate what you guys get out there about not only Hawkeye football but also the athletics. And
This is the Truth Tellers
really,
podcast, Coach. This is what we do. We tell truths around here.
It is.
And we make T-shirts with your face on it.
Yeah, I'm not sure who came up with that idea, but I'm not sure.
Take a guess.
You guys aren't making a whole lot of money off of that.
We see him every now and then out in the wild. It's always a good time when you just kind of run into somebody wearing them.
Yeah, it's probably the people in my neighborhood that once you guys sent that box, I started putting them on people's doorsteps. Some of them sat on the doorsteps for quite a while.
I just mentioned to my wife. So we got this one dropping next week.
Well, there you go.
So for anybody listening,
that one will fucking sell.
well, this is because this is George's thing. I don't know if you know who George Kittle is. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Football. When he would post stuff about Iowa, even if he still posts stuff about Iowa, he uses Kirk's dogs as his like hashtag on Instagram.
Yep.
And so we're like, dude, we got to get a shirt out. And it took us a couple years going through Kirk's agent and making sure the hospital's getting the money and all this stuff. And for anybody listening, Kirk's Dogs is currently available. So go get yourself a Kirk's Dog shirt. You're probably right. They might do a few more units than the Goat Wallace, but I don't know, man. The Goat Wallace, the Goat. We were in early, Coach. When you when that assistant head coach title becomes a full head coach title. I don't know when that happens in your career. It's going to happen at some point.
But if you could buy stock in a coaching career, we bought early. So
yeah, we're in.
We bought real early. I owned a piece of Goat Wallace back in 2016, baby.
Yes, you did, Drake. Yes, you did. You guys were all part of that tour of duty, especially when it came to the punt team. And
listen, that punt team was one of the most fun punt teams that anybody could be a part of. Now, I got to sit in a meeting room and make fun of you because you had a vernacular in a punt playbook longer than any offensive coordinator in the National Football League right now. We had to know more formations than Peyton fucking Manning, but we had a fun time doing it.
Yes, you did, and I'm still happy that it wasn't the punt phase that you ended up breaking your leg on. Very thankful that didn't happen to you.
I had a conversation
in some all-out rush against our punt team.
I had a conversation with CJ Beathard a couple of years ago now, and he goes, man, if I would have known that you were going to break your leg on that play, I would have audibled.
Well, I'd hope so.
Yeah, I mean,
thanks, Siege.
Was he just going to still run the play?
I mean, it did get 5 yards. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
No doubt. No doubt. It was a positive play.
There was probably a couple times where somebody could have broken a bone, let a guy through. Kevin didn't get the inside shoulder. Somebody on a punt team. Never. I don't know. There was some sketchy. Actually, that was one of the things. I didn't have a whole lot of like written down questions, Coach, but one of the things I did want to mention was obviously that punt room and you taking over. I probably still have the playbook in my office here somewhere. We were bad in 2014 against Nebraska specifically.
Yep.
And I don't know if Coach Ferentz rallied the troops on the staff, or he like held a come to Jesus meeting. He's like, hey, we got to have somebody to we got to solidify this punt unit thing. But when we came back that spring ball, or maybe even it started in bowl prep, I can't quite remember. Or we didn't go. Yeah, we went to a bowl game, but I'm not sure how we did against Tennessee that year on punt. But we came back that spring, and like Drake said, you had you had to have, it was like a dissertation you put together on punt that we installed in that 2014 spring ball. Did you sleep putting that together, or what did that look like?
Well, it was, full disclosure, like it was such a departure, and you've got it right. Like, I mean, there was a meeting, a staff meeting that we had, and coach was looking for different answers, and but it was such a departure from where we had come from. The spread punt versus the pro style punt, and I had a little bit of a background when I was at Valdosta State prior to coming back to Iowa, and so I threw it out, and not knowing at that point in time, it's probably one of those deals where you open your mouth, you shut your mouth, one of the two, and I opened it up, and I got everything that came with it, which was changing the complexion of our punt team. And as you guys well know, and it's one of those deals where it's much like any other part of my career, any other part of my responsibility. Like if you don't attack it and get after it, then you're probably going to lack some passion from the players when it's not something that you fully invest yourself in. And so that's, quite frankly, and I, at the time, I was helping Phil out in the secondary. Kevin remembers that. So my responsibilities there weren't as significant as they would be right now, coaching the linebackers. And so I put everything into it, and here it is still today. And LeVar's done a hell of a job of adding his piece to it. But the nuts and the bolts are still the same. But at the end of the day, the one thing it allowed us to do is it allowed us to put more people in coverage, and take people out of rushing conflict, and get them down the field. And we've got a bunch of guys that are going. We've been fortunate to have some great specialists too, but we've got guys that are flying down the field making plays on either return balls or balls that are bouncing around, and so it's been really good for us.
Thank God you took us out of the protection, because that was 20.
You never had to protect.
No. 2014. I was the guy in 2014.
2014, but not in the new phase of punt.
Oh yeah, once we switched it, we sat down in that first meeting, and we got the word that we were going air raid punt here. No one's blocking. We're just putting Hewlett, which, by the way, we're having Hewlett on the podcast this week. I can't wait for that.
Are you really?
Got him scheduled for Wednesday. We'll just put Hewlett and Budgeta back there. We'll just have the 300-pounders run their face into them. Everybody else just go and cover the field. And I was like,
no shit.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
No shit.
Because I was
create a wall back there and cut everybody else loose.
They were running twists on me in 2014, making me look like an asshole. And I was like, I don't know if I can do much more of this, because it was bad. It was a bad deal. It was cool though. But you came into that first meeting. I'll never forget that. We need a bunch of, I do your impression on here, and it's just
I'm well aware of that. So have at it. Even me sitting here, have at it.
I don't know.
Do your best.
It's just like, no, it's just we need some fucking dogs. All right. It's the will versus the want. And I just remember sitting there thinking, oh yeah, here we go. I feel important. Something I'm doing for this team is important. And, you had the printout, you had the dogs printed out on the front cover of the playbook. You had
shout out to Akane Corso.
Yes.
Unreal.
Yes. Exactly.
It was like you had a quad shot of espresso before that first punt meeting. It felt like we were like you were taking us into Afghanistan.
Coach
seriously.
was out there boofing Zen pouches to get himself fucking fired up.
You were the energy in that first punt meeting in 2014 spring ball was like, or 2020. I was like, Jesus Christ, we're doing this thing, huh?
asking you guys to believe in something different was, came with a little bit of energy and a little bit of passion, but you guys took it and ran with it. And, here it is today. We're still doing it.
So let me just ask this one question: in the new punt formation, knowing what the back line wall's job was, whose idea was it to put the best defensive player in the country there to just take a face full of dick?
Oh, Drake, you're
because now I can ask these questions because I was there volunteering. I was the guy that they sent in head first.
Speak up in one of those freaking meetings and ask the same question. You just sat there and bit your tongue. I guess
that would have been fantastic if 2015 Drake would have been like, "Hey, I got a question." Well, also, I don't know if we knew Josie was the best player in the country, best defensive player in the country at that point. We didn't really. He had a great bowl game.
Right. Yeah.
But
we thought he was expendable. And he survived. And he survived the Shield. But yeah, I don't know that would be. I don't know that would be the same philosophy at this point in time to put somebody like that in the Shield, knowing what can happen back there. But it's funny. Right before we got started, I went back and I pulled up the punt team from 2015 just to make sure that I had my shit squared away on any of the facts here. But if I recall, Kevin, you weren't even starting on the punt team in the first game, right?
I was not. No, I think George Kittle had my spot.
Yeah, how about that? And then, but by Iowa State, the next game, you were on there. And
yeah, I'm not sure if that was because of what I did or the fact that we realized we needed to protect George, but I'll take it either way.
Either way, that's kind of where, we played Illinois State, ironically. We're playing the first game of the year this year. But then it was Iowa State, that second game. And that's really where, really where things started to kick off with the punt team, because that was
McCarron chopped down Lazard.
Yes. How about that?
Oh.
That was one hell of a play. And it's still, LeVar still uses it.
That's teach tape. That's teach tape right there.
Significance behind not only the fundamental teaching behind it, but also the opportunity that Riley had, as kind of an unnoticed or an unknown guy going into that year. And then ironically, he ends up catching the game-winning touchdown in that game as well.
Yeah, he's got to be the MVP of that game. Coach, do you remember, I think even you maybe had a few comments about that specific rep, Riley McCarron cutting down Lazard. Not about McCarron, but somebody else on this field. KF had several comments as well in the we go over the highlights the next day to start off the team meeting.
No, why don't you remind me though?
There's just a lot of yapping going on
for how the short long snapper can talk shit to the 5-star All-American.
Yeah, there was just a lot of talking going on, and I just remember KF made a funny comment, and then I think you said something like, I mean, it was just all time. Coach Wallace was like, "Hey, Kluver, why don't you shut your fucking mouth? Huh? You didn't do shit on this play. You just come off the field and worry about snapping the ball in another 15 minutes. All right." And I was like, you're probably right. I was abusing Alan Lazard for no reason on that play. You can see my head moving.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought I did something, and I was kind of down the field. I was moving a little bit, but
but I tell you, it was that was a momentum play in the game. And some of that stuff doesn't get a ton of credit, but I'll tell you, just the plays that get made on special teams, and the guys that are doing it, and you look at where their career started, where their career finished, and in a lot of cases we tend to forget about the significance behind some of those special teams plays that provided growth and experience to those guys that eventually became household names at tight end or linebacker or defensive back. Yeah, it's just it's pretty cool.
Those it's something like that inspired. You're right. That play inspires that starting group to. Oh, I've got an opportunity to make a sick play here, like a really cool play on special
Very
teams.
much so.
And it's like because when it's part of the reason why being a returner is so crazy difficult and just takes balls of steel to do, because you are putting yourself in a position to potentially be a highlight tape from the other
Right.
side. And being on that other side was really fun. And then Riley goes down and makes a play like that. And that's enough for the rest of the season for Kevin and me and who else was on that team? Probably Cole Fisher and Travis to just be like, oh, wait, like it's next week it's me, or next week it's me. Like, who's it going to be? And,
Exactly.
and then I think that kind of started the culture from that moment of like, oh, this is where you can make a name for yourself. And when you watch that Riley McCarron tape, it's oddly similar to when the Bob Sanders play as well that we would see on, I think he was a gunner on that play, right? He broke that punt returner's leg.
It was against Kansas State. The only difference was when Bob hit that guy didn't get up.
Right.
I think Alan Lazard finished that game against us that year, but
sure.
Yeah, when Bob, that happened in Arrowhead Stadium, and coach still uses it, LeVar still uses it. But yeah, that return he didn't quite get up off the turf.
Bob and Riley hit different. Yeah. Bob and Riley hit a little bit different, but the energy of the play was very similar.
No doubt.
It was cool. Drake, I might have cut you off there. I think
I was just saying it wasn't the first or the last time that Bob Sanders left somebody not capable of getting themselves off the field.
No doubt.
We had Mitch King on the podcast, Coach, and Mitch talked about playing in Indianapolis for a year or two at the end of his career.
Yep.
And they had him playing like fullback, and it was when Bob was there, and he caught a ball out in the flat, and he said that he didn't even have to look. He could feel Bob stalking him in practice, and Bob just flew by and didn't touch him and just said, "Go Hawks." Otherwise, Mitch King might not be alive today.
No doubt. Especially Mitch King at fullback.
When did you first come to Iowa City? Because you were there before we came in, right?
Well, yes. So I had the fortune. I was hired by Norm Parker in January of 2006.
Yeah,
as the defensive graduate assistant. So that's that's my connection to, to really where I'm at right now is the fact that Norm was looking for a defensive GA that winter coming off the 2005 season, and I had a connection. I was pretty good friends with one of the Bullas. There's a long standing list of Bullas that played football at Michigan State.
Riley Bulla?
No, Chuck Bulla, who would be Riley's uncle.
Oh, okay.
There's at least 12 of them, I think, that have gone through that freaking program.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them. To include Hank Bulla, who was a longtime legendary coach. But anyway, that was my connection to Norm, and that's how it all happened back in 2006, and that's when I got started. And Norm hired me, but then I immediately was working for Phil, which was it's an obvious tour of duty. Working for him, just like playing for him. It doesn't come with many handouts. That's for sure. And it takes a little bit of time to earn the trust. But yeah, that's where it all started at Iowa, was just being here as a graduate assistant and doing that for 3 years, and then leaving for 5, and then came back in the summer of 2014.
Yeah. Have you got any questions? Anything you want to say? You're sitting there, and I know that you've been licking your chops for this podcast for about 3 years. So I want you to get everything. Yeah, you.
No, I mean, I was gonna say, what was it like GAing for Phil back in the mid 2000s versus, you were like the assistant DB's coach, circa 2014, 2015 actually.
Yep.
What did you see a change in him from those time periods, or was he still pretty much the same guy in your opinion?
Yeah, I think the one thing that hasn't changed is the obvious competitiveness, the attention to just the detail within our defense, and starting with the fundamentals and all that. But I think that the intensity has not changed. I think maybe the stepping aside and letting somebody else do a little bit more of the yelling and all that. That's how I remember it when I got here as a GA was Phil was that voice for Norm.
Sure.
In a lot of ways. And Norm was more of that stoic, he had a way about him of, he didn't have to say much. And what he said was obviously very, very important. But, Phil was the one that was, holding people in line and doing a little bit more of the animated, that type of stuff. And I think some of that's obviously shifted, between myself and Phil and coming back here. And, Phil's a big part of the reason that I'm back here. It's, it was a defensive hire, and I'm thankful for Coach Ferentz, and thankful for, the opportunity that I had when Norm hired me. But ultimately Phil was a big part of me coming back here in 2014. And I just think I've taken on what I saw him as when he was for Norm, and now what I am for him. So, I just think there's some of that.
So basically what you're telling me is, and I guess I'm an idiot for never realizing this, but there's always a bad cop, good cop on the defensive side of the ball is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I would say that Phil's always been the bad cop. But especially when it comes to, especially when it comes to his position, like it's, I've always tried to find my way over there after after somebody's given up a big play or blown a coverage or done something, that you would consider, just not real smart, because they would have at that point heard enough from Phil that, they probably need a little bit of positive reinforcement. I can think back to Miles Taylor, who has now joined the coaching profession. So now I'm sure he's well aware of, all of the animation that came with Phil.
But that kid was just so hard on himself anytime he made a mistake. Like, you had to talk the kid off the ledge.
Yes, no doubt. And I remember.
But I think Phil started to get after so much time in the program, he'd get a feel for like which guys he had to get on and which guys he didn't need to really rip into, he already knew they were ripping into themselves in terms.
No doubt. Yep. And some kids mature that way. They mature to the point where, they don't need to be told a whole lot, because they fully understand the magnitude of, what just happened. And, and then others, it's part of the growth process. You're pretty young, and, you make a mistake that's just, really jeopardizes the whole complexion of the game, and certainly jeopardizes your opportunity as a team. And sometimes you need to be reminded in a way that, because those same mistakes are going to be made, well beyond the football field. And, if you get an opportunity to remind, somebody between the age of 17 and 22, that reminder is likely to stick around, and then, hopefully it doesn't occur again.
I'm here to tell you those reminders stick. They stick real good.
They do, don't they?
Yeah.
If you care, they do.
If you care, I would. Yep.
You can give your opinion, Coach, but I think it might be, in my opinion, from the athlete side, the most important coaching, the most important piece to being a good coach is being able to feel out the way each individual athlete best receives coaching.
There's no question.
How can I best get the potential out of this person? And I could name names. I think all three of us took hard coaching fairly well. We had a lot of teammates. I could go down the list that they didn't hard coaching wasn't going to get their best. And it'll turn off a lot of athletes. It'll shut them down. Now they're pissed. They're going to go about practice with low effort, low energy. And that's not ultimately, even though they might've needed to hear it, they probably needed to hear it a different way if you want to get the best out of them. And to a certain extent, you can't, that's not a cop out for okay, well, we just can't coach this guy hard, because you still have to coach everybody hard in a way. But I think we had Coach Woods on the podcast about a month ago, and we've gotten probably one of the best received podcasts we've ever done. And people just love that. We're obviously big fans of you and Coach Woods is on the show. We're not shy about that. And I think for you guys, the big reason for that is because you guys both are so good at that. Is you just every single individual player, even if it's not a guy in your position group, it's just a guy in the hallway. It just feels like you guys have figured that out. Like you guys have a feel for how each single guy is best going to have his potential pulled out of him throughout the course of a year or their career. And I think, you can speak to it, but it feels like that might be a really hard thing to do and manage across a group of 100+ individuals.
Yeah, I think it's, it's certainly something that I know myself personally, I've taken pride in, and just getting to know, as many individuals as you can on the team. And some are more significant. The relationship becomes more significant because of the opportunity that might lie there, which, certainly you're going to have the most impact with the players that you have at your position. But, I've, for 25, and I don't even know how many years I've been coaching, to be honest with you. And I shouldn't say 25. I think it's probably a little bit less than that, but for however many years I've been, tied into the special teams facet of coaching and facet of the game. And when you're involved in that, you're involved with, more than just your position. And I think that's where, and I've also seen the collective benefit behind, having great special teams. And I've also seen the benefit individually behind, what I spoke on earlier with guys that, in their freshman and sophomore year, that's where they get their cleats in the dirt to start their career. And, they're able to grow at a much faster rate when they're out there on the field. And certainly, to your point, in the hard coaching, the ones that understand the significance behind what it is that they're doing and how that plays a critical role in the complexion of, in the outcome, and the success of, our team, that's where that growth takes place. And when you see that, you're involved in it, then I think, players, they start to gravitate towards you. And then that's when those relationships start to really expand.
For sure. Coaching is not I'll even go as far to say coaching is not really a healthy lifestyle. You guys are at the complex like 26 hours a day. You have to be away from your families a lot. There's not a lot of you time. Is there any of that aspect of the job that you underestimated before getting into it back when because I think you got into coaching right away after you were done playing?
I did. See, I grew up a coach's kid.
Okay.
And my father was a longtime small college head football coach. And that's all I ever knew. People ask me, did you grow up a Hawkeye fan? Well, I didn't move here till I was 10. And when I got to Iowa, like I was no fan other than a fan of my father and the team that he was coaching. And that's all I ever paid attention to, quite frankly. And, I wouldn't change any of that. Like, that's how I was wired. But every Saturday and Sunday, I lived by the scoreboard, that showed, those zeros across it, after every game. And we were always able to turn the page, the next week. But, that's really how I was wired. I didn't have, I guess I didn't have a ton of passion beyond, seeing what my father did. So when the opportunity came, when I graduated in 2000 at Coe College, and Eric Rayburn, who was the head coach at the time, asked me, hey, I still remember we were playing an away game, and he walked down the aisle on the bus and just said, hey, let's talk next week. I want you to start your coaching career here. And so that's how it all started. I was never really given an opportunity to think much beyond, getting into coaching. Because one, I had lived it growing up, and then two, the opportunity was there before any other job opportunity ever, crossed, came in front of me. Ball is life. It always, it always has been. And, I grew up in a completely different world, Division III football. And there are rigors, there's recruiting, highs and lows that, I mean, it's not an easy job. And what I witnessed my father do for many, many years was certainly not easy. It wasn't easy on him, wasn't easy on our family. He did a much better job than I'll ever claim to do when it comes to coaching. I admire what he did. And I admire what my mother did too, because, you can imagine what it is, to be a coach's wife when you're not there. And then
Crazy.
In addition to that, the highs are the highs, but the lows will hit a lot lower than the highs will. And
always.
And that's hard to endure. And, certainly hard to raise a family, when you're going through that. And we're fortunate around here that, in some of my kids' more impressionable years growing up, that we've had more highs than lows, and thankful to the three of you. And, it's been a pretty good run. But yeah, coaching has always been something that, I've wanted to do. And I've always been around good coaches. My opportunities here, my opportunities when I was down in Georgia and Valdosta State. And I've been blessed. I mean, the last two head coaches I've been around are both Hall of Fame head coaches. The one that I was with down at Valdosta State will certainly be one. He's a two-time national champion. One of those I was a part of. And then, there's not one any better than Kirk Ferentz. I mean, it's not even close. And, probably doesn't get enough credit for it. But
he does on this podcast, but from his fans,
no doubt he
does
on enough
credit.
Podcast.
So
we try and balance it out on here.
Yeah.
Part of that hecticness in coaching is the mobility of, it's especially at the top level. If you don't win or if you don't produce, and it gets worse and worse every year with the NIL, we're going to get to that here probably towards the end of this thing, and all that's changing. But like, coaches are gone in 2 to 3 years, right? Like what you guys have in Iowa City, we try to talk about it. We try to relay it to the fans as much as we can from our former player perspective. Like, it is uncommon. It is rare. And I guess that part of it, you've been in Iowa City now for a decade. That helps. That helps a lot, because when you're moving your family every 3 to 4 years, that sucks. That sucks. Like that's bad. And that's part of the reason that I never had a lot of interest in the collegiate strength and conditioning side of things, because I know how oftentimes it looks the same. Like, there's a lot of, you take a job for 2 to 3 years, you take an assistant job here, then you move up a level, and there's a lot of moving around. And how do you approach, like, so that's stable for you at least for now. How do you approach the rest of the gig when it pertains to, like, you having a personal life and an identity outside of being a coach? Like, it's really hard for you guys to have you time. And we're coming off a little bit of it right now. We just, before we hit record, you were talking about you on vacation, and you guys get a little bit of time away from the place. Is it tough to switch or flip the switch and be just dad and husband and not Coach Wallace?
No, it's not tough. It does throw you off. It does throw you off your routine. I mean, it'll throw you completely off your routine, because your routine is really August through, really August through June. Everything's pretty well documented. Starting in August, what it's going to look like all the way through June. I mean, the recruiting calendar is already set in place for us. When we're going to be on the road is set in place, when your bye week exists, what your schedule looks like. We get a little brief window, following a bowl game, for a little bit of time. But, I guess where mine's a little bit unique, because I grew up in the state of Iowa. My wife grew up in the state of Iowa. I'm from Grinnell. She's from Mount Pleasant. I went to college here. I've been here now going on 14 years. So 10 as an assistant, 3 as a GA. I believe that this is my 14th year. A lot of my close friends They either exist in Cedar Rapids, Grinnell, Mount Pleasant. We were with a good contingent of Mount Pleasant folks this past week down the Ozarks with my wife's side of the family. And, so there's, I know where my network is. That's what, as you can imagine, the way I just verbalize that and painted a picture, like I've got the best job in the world. Because of, there's grandparents that are still around on both sides, both my parents, my wife's parents. They're at all of our kids' ball games. And so, finding time to get away. And that's not hard because these friends are here. I mean, they're here after every football game over at our house, win or lose. Grandparents are at every sporting event. So, from that standpoint, I don't know that you could paint a picture of a better job for somebody, especially, with the success that we've had here and the position group that I get to coach and the players that have played for me. It just doesn't get much better than that. So finding time for family, and it's a little bit unique on my end because, they're all right here. We're not having to go very far to see familiar faces.
I forgot that you guys had the best linebacker room in the country. You guys have it easy over there.
For like 14 straight years. It's out of control. Since James Morris, Hitchens, and Kirksey did it, it's been the best linebacker room in the country.
Yeah, we've been pretty fortunate, Drake, and you guys played with a handful of them. And, I would tell you, tracing it all the way back to, to that point in time, Josie, Ben, Bo, Kevin, and there's guys, I could keep going, but where I think I benefit from a lot of it is just, we've had good players, we've had great kids, and that's scattered across the entire program, but that position group specifically, and I only speak to that position group because I coach it, but it grows itself each and every year. And, we're reaping the benefits this coming year with Jay Higgins being back and Nick Jackson and Kyler Fisher. And that's a unique situation, but those that are benefiting from it are not only our fans, not only our defense, but even more so the guys that are sitting behind them in that room. They're the ones that are benefiting from it. And it's only just going to continue to grow the room, which is, really was what I was hopeful for when I took over was, hey, let's let the players grow this room, because the coaching is not going to change. Like, it's Kevin knows this. You guys know it being a part of this program. The defense is a defense. It's not like we're going in there teaching different fundamentals. Not like we're going in there teaching a different scheme. But how mature can each of those individuals become? And I'm talking about football maturity. That to me is inspired by the players in the room, not necessarily the coach.
Yeah.
So
Phil's going to call tempo 1 50 times, and the players are going to line up and punch you in the face 50 times.
Tempo 1, baby. Drake, those three guys you mentioned, as you speak there, coach, I just can't. I think maybe you sit down and if you look at it, the impact, if you want to call it a sort of a catalyst point, when we had Morris, Hitchens, Kirksey, those three might be more important to the Iowa football team, the program in general, over the last 10 years than maybe people give them credit for. And maybe it's just because they had such a crazy impact on us because we were freshmen, eyes were wide open. I was scared of all three of them. James Morris is one of the most impressive humans I've ever been around. But that's a pretty good foundation to build on, to quote unquote leave the jersey in a better place and inspire guys like Josie to then pass it on to Ben and down the list. Those guys are, those three just always stick out in my mind.
At some point it became really cool to play defense, and especially linebacker or DB at the University of Iowa. And we've reaped the benefits of that significantly.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And, but I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody sitting in here who, 3 of the 4 played, at the University of Iowa. And, like a lot of this just is, there's so much consistency, and I'm speaking defensively. One, there's been a singular voice that has been with this defense for 26 years. And, so just start there with Phil and, his opportunity to have been a part of this deal for 26 years. And then myself, who GA'd here, Kelvin also GA'd here. Kelvin's had, a real unique experience being a part of this program in different capacities. And then, in addition to that, then you go out and you hire Jay Niemann, who both of his boys played here and, played significant roles. And, so just the collectiveness behind it, and, the other position group that doesn't get a ton of credit because they're not making 170 some tackles like Jay Higgins did this past year, is the defensive line. And the defensive line is, in all of our minds defensively is where it starts. And if you got a shitty defensive line, you don't have guys up there that are doing what's needed, then, the rest of the defense is going to suffer. And, so as much notoriety as a Jay Higgins might get, or a Jack Campbell or a Cooper DeJean, like at the end of the day, a lot of the credit's due in part to the guys up front and what they're doing. And, but again, going back to consistency, you'll look at the defensive staff, and, you look at Phil's stability, me being here for 14 years and GA in here, Kelvin, the same deal. And then Jay Niemann, who, certainly is going to believe in everything that, that his kids were a part of. And he's only just carried that on since Nick has left.
Now, in addition with the personnel stability on the coaching on the defensive side of the ball, you talked about it briefly with the actual defense, the X's and O's, the scheme that we run. It's the same defense that Norm Parker installed back in '99, right?
That's correct.
Nuts and bolts, pretty much the damn same thing.
Yep.
Offenses have changed dramatically since the late '90s. Why is it that this defense still works in 2024?
I think a lot of that's just due in part to Phil's commitment to being here. Because that could have very easily changed had Phil, have left a dozen years ago, or whenever he's had those opportunities, I think you would, something would give. And what would give would be, the consistency and belief behind really everything that matters when it comes to what we do defensively. And at the end of the day, the end of the day, we share a lot of beliefs across both sides of the ball. As you guys well know, like we give more time and practice to the fundamentals and the techniques of football than probably anybody in the country. And we're fortunate because that ultimately is what's going to win games, especially when you're talking about, the so-called Iowa versus, somebody that might be of greater talent. At the end of the day,
Coach, let's just call balls and strikes. Half your starters walked on. Okay. Let's just fucking call it like it is. Half the starters on that roster played at Iowa high schools and walked on.
And we wouldn't have it any other freaking way.
Low talent, high IQ.
And you know that. And we're going to, it's getting tougher and tougher. And now they're putting roster restrictions on us and things like that, which are going to, take away some opportunity from really what is, what's been our edge. But outside of a personal edge, the other edge is the fundamental piece and the technique piece, which is, that's how you win games. And, to me, that collective belief, Phil's stability, that's why we've never wavered. Even in times in which we have taken some dips defensively, our dips have never been significant dips. There's, maybe one or two in Coach's 26-year tenure, but, I think it's just a freaking belief, like a strong freaking belief in what you're doing. And, that to me is what's allowed us to be successful.
I agree that selflessness and like the team cohesiveness, defensive cohesiveness is much more important than a fancy scheme.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Without a doubt. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of schemes out there that are working. And and that's why it's hard to have an opinion, in regards to, other schemes, because our scheme and, our opponent, in the second week of the season are completely different. But I've got a ton of respect for what they do, with their scheme defensively. But to me, it comes back to, you start looking at who are the people that are running the defense. What does their stability look like? Are they, we watch their players play. Do they believe in fundamentals? Do they believe in technique? Are they, limiting big plays? Like, all that shit is what gets you jacked up as a defensive coach. And that's where you start to admire, other defenses and not necessarily other schemes. It's to what you alluded to, Drake. It's like, yeah, it's the little shit that matters. And that's why I think this pattern of success has extended over many years defensively.
Definitely have to sell it to a guy that he's got to eat 600 pounds of a double team to make the defense work. But
I'm telling you, the shit that those defensive linemen have to do now is, and it can't just be done with talent. Like, the attention to the fundamental and the technique up front is freaking, it's on a different level now. I'm just telling you, it is on a different level. And, to me, that's where it all starts.
Are Aaron Graves and YA Black going to terrorize the Big Ten this year?
They've certainly got the capability. And I would never make any proclamations in regards.
Would you classify these guys as dogs?
Yeah, I mean,
do they have the will versus the want, or the want versus the will?
Yeah, they've got the And I can't tell if you're fucking, if you're giggling behind that will and that want.
He's trolling you, Coach.
Oh,
I'm always giggling. It's a real question, though.
No, I didn't see that shit in the punt meeting out of your ass. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see you giggling. I didn't see you giggling then. No,
I was scared to laugh for 5 years because of Coach Doyle. So it is what it is. No, but it's a serious question, because I feel like Aaron Graves is going to eat people.
They are, YA is certainly an alpha. He is, he would be, if, and I'm not sure where that picture of those, the front page of the playbook exists. I know it's somewhere in my office. But yeah, he would be right there at the front, and Aaron would probably be standing just to the right or the left. Like, they are, but they're also, you talk about, they got their shit together. And then I say that in regards to just, every facet. But when you look at them, you're like, holy shit, how are we going to move these guys?
They're scary.
They're two monster humans.
Also, I want to go back to Nick and Jay getting a lot of pub, best linebackers in the country. Nick he's got 3,000 tackles or something like that. Jay, these guys' heads have to hurt, by the way. I don't know how much ibuprofen they're taking from the training room. Are they really that good? We've had some good linebackers, Coach. 2 of them up on your wall there. Sickest picture I've ever seen, I think, of Jack Campbell and Seth Benson. Josie was okay. I kind of, but then going back to the three guys we mentioned, the Niemanns, like, are these 2 are the real deal? Are they just that? Do you guys run out there every day at practice and you're just like, we got Jay and Nick, we're good, we feel pretty good about it?
No, I think if you were to ask them, like, I'm probably as hard on them at this point in their career as. Now, a lot of it comes with some sarcasm, which is, there's plenty of sarcasm that gets thrown their way. In fact, yesterday I was down in the equipment room, and Kevin Ford took over for Greg Morris, and Kevin's got his hands full, as we can all imagine, being 2 days out from these kids reporting, and he came up to me and he said something about, not to mention he's got to do all this bullshit with, like, the helmets. And this player to coach, so, like, now the helmets have to be.
Oh yeah, you guys got communication. Jay,
Yeah, so
does Jay have it?
That's
in his head?
sick.
Jay will, I mean, the quarterback, obviously, and then right now the middle linebacker. We could probably toy around with it between him and the free safety, but and we messed around with it. We had it during spring. So we messed around with it a little bit, and it's not. I mean, is it a game changer? No. Is it an element that could provide us with a slight edge? Yes. But it's certainly not anything that's monumental, especially defensively, because we don't have much control over it. However, I'm deviating from what I'm trying to get at when it comes to Jay, and just my reminder to him, like, hey, dude, like, just let's make sure that we're standing, clearly where our feet are and not getting ahead of ourselves. But so Kevin Ford tells me that Jay needed a pair of cleats that he had like 3 years ago in his career. Which Nike has surpassed that. Nike's not building that cleat anymore. And Kevin, being, the guy that he is, like, he was bound and determined to make sure that he took care of Jay Higgins. So he tells me yesterday that he reached out to the Chiefs. The Chiefs didn't have him. And then he finally found them. They had 2 pairs of Jay's size down in Tampa Bay. And, it caught me by surprise. So I had to, I sent Jay a text message, and then I saw him later yesterday afternoon. I'm like, you got to be shitting me. Like, now, now we're finding
conversation.
Now we're finding linebacker shoes, down in Florida, just to keep everybody happy. And
like, we had to email Tristan fucking Wirfs to get you some shoes, Jay. What
right, exactly. Yeah. So, but again, that is that's not my world. That's Kevin's world, and I'm appreciative that. That is how he takes care of those guys. But yeah, now we're finding. So I sure hope these fucking cleats are, I hope they're just, maybe it'll add a couple tackles again.
Man, Jay has earned some Kevin tokens. It used to be Greg tokens. Jay's got some Kevin tokens.
But here's the thing, Coach, I got to ask you this. You might have the inside information. Why did Safranco get hosed on the job?
He's too busy. He's too busy.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah,
hey,
I don't.
He was first in line.
Drake, you can't coach and be the guy.
Yeah, you can't hold the head equipment manager, head equipment director of equipment, whatever it is. You can't hold that title, and then he's also
the assistant offensive line coach. You can't.
And the assistant head coach, and go down.
He's the head ass kicker.
Yeah.
Too much responsibility.
Too much responsibility.
He's also the assistant head coach. So do you report to him then, or?
There's certainly days where, I feel, I get reminded of that daily, no doubt. Especially if I'm not standing back far enough, as you guys well remember.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Facts. Yep. You mentioned something, Coach, very important on a less fun note and more of probably a headache note for you guys. They just passed this thing where you guys get like 105 spots, I think. I heard, I listened to Doctorman and Leistico talk a little bit about it on a podcast. What a world we are in college football right now. It's probably like you guys wake up every day and you're like, all right, what are the rules? Like, what's new today? The walk-on might be dead. All right. It is dead.
Last year, the walk-on.
And the short story,
up, man.
This will only add to your guys's.
Oh yeah,
deal.
I know.
It'll only add to it.
It's great for us content wise, but so essentially, what's happened is now schools you have roster limits, but within that roster limit, you could scholarship and fund every single spot. So, in theory, you look at the way the cards fall. Football is the most important college sport in America. It brings in all the money. It funds all of the other sports. 105 of 105 spots are going to be funded. As a coach and someone who has to recruit these kids, you've got 20 extra scholarships, essentially, is how this is going to play out. And no walk-ons. Put together a little list, not including Kevin Ward and Drake Kulik and myself, because I would never do that. You would have
never known me. I would not have made that 105.
Jack Kerner, Quinn Schulte, Jake Gervais, Bo Bauer, Brady Ross, Macon Pleva, Mark Wiseman. There's others. you go down that list right there, and I ask you as a coach, or all the other coaches on the staff that have been there since we've been around, to name some qualities that group has, or talk about the importance of that group to the team over the last 5 to 10 years. I imagine the coaches would talk pretty highly, especially about a couple of those guys like Mark and some others. How, as a team who is developmental, do you approach that now? Because it feels wrong to not have that guy who would have walked on, and he had that chip on his shoulder, and he built himself into a guy that, all the stereotypes, but, coach's kid, high IQ, high motor, lunch pail guy. How do you deny a kid like that? Because there's going to be Iowa kids that are slow and white, but man, they might be able to play safety for the Hawks one day if you let them develop for 3.5 years. Do you take a chance on those kids now, and actually, do you give them the scholarship, or are you guys going to get stuck, hunting the 3 stars and like, we're going to have to give these kids scholarships? Like,
I'm sorry, cool. That's just kind of an absurd question. It's like, damn it, we gotta bring in these better athletes now. We wanted the slow white kids.
It's no, Kev. It sounds ridiculous.
What a shame we don't get the shit bags.
No. It sounds ridiculous the way you ask it, but we've had a lot of athletes that 2 years later, attrition because they're a shit bag, or they can't go to class, or all this stuff.
Well, sure, but at the same time, like, you're bringing in other scholarship athletes. All right, you're not gonna go 0 for 30 on a class.
I'm saying, though, are you just going to completely go 0 for? You're never going to offer any of these kids who could be. How do you approach that, Coach? Do we just leave the Jake Gervasses and the Quinn Schultes to go to South Dakota now, and then you got to get them in the transfer portal 2 years later, or how does that work?
I think the one thing that, and I'm not speaking, what I don't want to do is I don't want to get ahead of myself here, because again, a lot of this stuff just came into fruition, a week ago, or even less than that. Really what it is, and I would paint this picture for you. Division II and FCS have been under this model for years, and it has worked. Now the model being that in Division II, to be fully funded from a scholarship standpoint, the number is 36 full scholarships. In FCS, that number, don't quote me on it, it's going to be somewhere in the low 60s. And then Division I, Power 5 football, that number was 85. The difference is Division II and FCS, they were able to use it as a salary cap. Okay, meaning that they were able to take those full scholarships, turn them into a dollar amount, and then they were able to split up or partial their scholarships amongst their entire roster, or however they chose to. You could have X amount on full scholarship, you could have X amount on quarter scholarships, and then those scholarships could also change by semester. Mm-hmm. So that's where this new world exists. Is we're still at 85 scholarships. We're now at 105 roster spots. So we could now technically take those 85 scholarships and partially fund our entire roster, or we could choose to stick to the same model. Okay. Which again, I'm not getting ahead of myself because we haven't even had this conversation as a staff. Where I do think it's unfortunate is I do think the model is pretty good. Because the model has worked in Division II, it's worked in FCS, just like they've been playing in a playoff system for years. Yeah. And now we just joined, that same model with a playoff system. So I do think there's some advancements here that are really good. This being a good one where you could partial your scholarship out to, put a couple extra guys on money. However, it's the 105 that I just think is unfortunate and speaks to, it really speaks to all three of you, and speaks to so many others that you mentioned and so many others that you left out that, operating at 105 in a developmental program, I know, and I'm not speaking for anybody in our building, but, I would tell you that I think we were, maybe not unanimously, but, I think a lot of us around here were hoping that this number would be closer to 120 or 115, just because of the stories that you just mentioned and the guys like yourselves that, have been counted on, that probably were that 106 or that 107 or that 108.
Oh, it was clippy time for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I was 109 and y'all brought me because you had to. There was just 2 snappers. Otherwise Casey would have died. I mean, you're looking at 3 guys who might, this podcast doesn't
was
exist.
The only one who made the 105 legit.
I mean, maybe not. Maybe if they actually had that limit and it's like, I don't know about this guy, but because they had the extra roster spots, it was like, yeah, he can come to camp this year, whatever.
I mean, there's some implications on this show.
Here's where it gets even, just in the next, whatever. And I'm not sure. I do know, I have heard that this has to be done by next year. It's not like there's a grace period. It's not like there's grandfathering, in the way about getting to this.
Oh,
like,
shit. You guys got to cut people.
We've got 25. Let's just say we've got 130 right now. We got to be at 105 next year. And we've got those that are already, committed and from
Drake,
a recruiting
standpoint. Drake, you and I are going home.
Dog, it's a wrap.
We're gone. Hey, you and me, we're going home, brother.
Is this
we're
the last year of the COVID scholarship?
You guys are, yeah. Drake's headed over to St. Ambrose. Kevin's headed back to, let's see, Kevin, where would you have gone? One of those Division II.
No.
Coach Wallace.
Don't lump me in with these slaps.
Clove would be snapping at Grandview.
Hell yeah.
Coach Wallace,
Vikings,
you would have seen
baby.
me hanging off the First Avenue overpass. Fuck you mean? St. Ambrose. I'm a dead man.
Dude, I'll snap for the Grandview Vikings, dude.
Hey, Grandview would have gotten better. St. Ambrose would have gotten better. And wherever the hell Kevin would have went back in Chicago would have gotten better too.
Nah, he's going to the Air Force.
Okay. Then our country would have gotten better.
Hey, you're damn
hell
right.
yeah.
You're damn right.
So taking away walk-ons makes this country better because we're going to have better servicemen. All these guys, no 106 to 115. Hey, the college football career wasn't it. But hey, guess what? You could sign up for the Army.
Yeah.
Come serve your country.
We'll have service academies sitting outside with pamphlets come January.
They're going to recruit outside the walls of Kinnick.
Yeah, we'd be better if they'd recruit off of football rosters.
Before every game in the locker room, Coach Reese Morgan would come up to me and tell me how he wants me to protect our country after I'm done playing football. We're in the locker room every single week, and he's talking to me about the Navy and the Marines.
Is that not a Reese deal? Like that is to the max. To a T.
I wish that would have been the recurring conversation that I had with Coach Morgan, because the one that I had with Coach Morgan was always, "You been on the inversion table lately? We stretch you out anymore?" He was always concerned with me being 5'9.5".
Guys, and how about this? Reese's ass is still here.
Like, what's he doing?
He does our advanced scouting.
Oh my God.
Like he is in here like during the season. Now he's enjoying retirement a little bit more. I think he's actually over in Europe right now. With his granddaughter. In fact, I know he is. I got a text message. He told me my retirement spot was this Wallace Tavern over in Ireland or something. Took a picture of it.
Could delete a couple of beverages there.
I'm sure he has. But yeah, he's in here. He's in here every game week, and it usually it's usually pretty grim at the beginning of the week. Like he's telling us how bad it's going to be. Holy shit, these guys are and then by the end of the week, we've got him convinced that we got a chance. But
Coach, that's how you guys made us feel.
Well, yeah, it's probably by design. And Reese is just making sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves. Reese he's around here doing. I mean, it's really
still like the lactation room or whatever it is. Like
his office used to be in the lactation room. I think he's since then moved out of there, probably for good reason. But yeah, he's around here. He's around the players just like he was when he was a coach. And
They do not make them like Reese Morgan anymore.
No,
No.
they don't make them like Joe Morgan either, his wife, like for, him to be in retirement and then his ass is up here, watching
She's the
practice.
one that sent him. What do you mean?
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool to see. And
Coach, every player we have on here, when we ask them about their recruiting story, some point in the story, they're 17 years old and Reese Morgan shows up at their high school at like 2:15 on a Tuesday afternoon.
No doubt. Yep.
I think he knows every road in Iowa.
He'll tell you he does. I can tell you that. He knows where every casino is in Iowa. I know that.
Yeah, my man.
That man is special.
Find him in there with a ball cap on. You might not recognize him.
Yeah, that's funny. So circling back right now, you said you're at 130 on the roster right now. That seems a little heavy. You guys still got some COVID scholarships, or is this the last year of COVID?
You do. The story that came out about all those guys this past year that chose to come back, some passed on the NFL opportunity. They felt like it was better to come back for another year. Some chose to use this should be the last year of the COVID exemption. So that's why you're seeing a little bit of an inflated roster, probably compared to what it was when you guys were playing.
Yeah.
But still, it has and no longer will, but has fluctuated in that 127 range. And that's always been good for us. Because it does provide those stories that are pretty unpredictable, but when they take place, the significance is has impacted this program. So we'll have to figure out how to do it. With the new rules.
At 127, you find yourself a Brady Ross in there.
Yes.
And he's causing havoc on scout team, pissing everybody off.
Yep. And the next thing he creates a fumble or against Michigan in 16, and
2 years later
kickoff.
The ball back,
or he tries to hand it to Stanley and fumbles it himself. But
right, yeah, that happens too.
He gave me the run. He took me inside. He took me and Drake and Gervais inside that play, inside his head, his thought process at Kevin's wedding a couple weeks ago, and I've never laughed so hard in my life. He said,
fuck, he's right there.
He's like, I got the handoff and it was a little loose, and I turn around and there's Nate Stanley. There's number 4. I thought, what's the worst that could happen? Like, Brady, we lose the fucking game. That's the worst that could happen. Oh my God. Oh.
Oh man.
I don't even know where.
Another question I had. So like with the middle linebacker having the radio set, one thing I figure is going to be kind of difficult. It gets pretty damn loud, especially when we're on defense. It's not exactly easy to shout the plays to everybody. So are we still probably going to be relying on signals a lot, or are we going to hope that Jay doesn't lose his voice?
Yeah, and I don't think any of this will come across as being like big news, but that kind of like the roster limits, there's some finer details that go into this communication deal. The communication shuts down 15 seconds before the ball snap. So I say that 15 seconds before the play clock runs out. Mm-hmm. Okay, so our ability to communicate a defensive play call is a lot different because we're on the reactive side of the ball. They're on they're dictating on their side of the ball. So they can use all of that time to get their play in or to approach the line of scrimmage.
Right.
Where if we're waiting for all that shit to happen, then we're likely to time out at 15 seconds.
Sure.
So I think what you'll see, and you see it in the National Football League because they have a very similar timeout, on the communication, like you'll still see defensives doing the signaling, and we'll use the communicative device more as reminders or adjustments. But it's not going to be a long drawn out conversation between whoever's speaking to the middle linebacker. It's going to be, probably just subtle reminders between
someone
plays.
with the up in the booth, like signaling like, hey, they just subbed in so and so, keep an eye on them or whatever.
Yes, it would be. Yes,
Phil will be super subtle about it.
We're still trying to figure out, who all is going to be, doing the communicating and.
Don't bring Kevin back for it. He'll go nuts. He'll kill somebody.
I'm pretty sure this podcast has precluded me from ever being a University of Iowa employee.
Yeah.
So
I'm fairly certain.
Scratch that name off the list.
Yeah.
I still have not forgiven you guys for changing the signals. I used to go to all the games, watch the signals, be able to know who fucked up and who made a good play. Then you guys changed them. I don't know what you guys are running pre-snap anymore, so I don't appreciate.
Yeah, we'll send you over the chart, Kevin, just so you can.
Will?
Yeah, just so you can have a better idea.
While you're at it, can you send us the all 22 film? Because we've been trying to get this for a little bit now.
We just want to do a cool show where we break down one play a week, and the all 22 coach is
apparently
like
Fort Knox. Can't get
it's like national treasure.
And it would be necessary in order to do that. So I do get where you're coming from. Yeah, we might. We'll see what we can do. We might have to.
We have one fucking play, coach.
Yeah,
we just want one play after the game is over. We just want to break down one play. I'll talk to Coach Ferentz if I have to.
It can be a false start. It doesn't have to be a fully play. That's right. Just show me how they lined up.
We don't even need the actual action.
So all you want is the all 22 for one play.
One play a game.
Like 3 plays a game would be great, but if we could get one play a game.
Now you're up to 3. I thought it was one.
Well,
give him out a cookie, coach.
Yeah. Give me an inch, I'll take a mile. But seriously, we want one play where after the fact, you guys play Illinois State week 1. We come after the fact in our recap episode. We're like, hey, here's one play from this past weekend where we can actually show it on the screen.
You guys can play.
And Kevin, who knows what he's talking about, because I actually don't even know football, if you know that. All I know is how to long snap. And Kevin can be like, here's the deal. Here's probably what they called or something close to it. Jay took a step this way. Probably should have been leaning the other way. That's all we want.
Right.
But it's like fucking, I don't even know. It's like.
Well, who've you reached out to?
Well, we haven't. I haven't pushed too hard because I'm.
We started with this being Fort Knox, and now we haven't pushed very hard.
No. I haven't pushed very hard on true, you or Ben Hansen or somebody on the inside who's like, I don't want to ruffle feathers, but from the outside. So, for example, the NFL, you can pay a subscription like $18 a month, and you could watch NFL games live in all 22.
Yeah.
But for college film, which you guys send to each other anyway,
right?
Your opponents have all your film. It's like they've got better security on this shit than the Trump rallies. Like, what's going on? It's unbelievable. So just, maybe in super important for you to worry about that, but maybe just, you're bored during camp here next week. You're like, yeah, well, maybe we can.
I've put a couple notes down. I might add that to it.
Speaking of camp, it's about to get hot and just practice every day. Although you guys don't do doubles anymore. They're soft as shit.
How about that? Like we've had a month of July that it has been outstanding from a weather standpoint for our players. And you guys lived it. You guys lived the 4 quarters and it has been, there's been some mornings where it's been beautiful and ideal weather. And then now you pull up I made the mistake yesterday of pulling it up, looking at the next 10 days. And it's like, you gotta be shitting me.
It's gonna be bad.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay for that.
Which is fine. That is part of it. That's the way that's the way it should be. But yeah, it'll be interesting.
If you're enjoying camp, you're doing something wrong.
No shit. No shit, Kevin. Yeah. Yeah. If you're enjoying it, then if it doesn't feel like work, then yeah, something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Something's wrong.
Will you still go on a little run? Like in between morning? Like you and the other coach? Didn't you and didn't
probably be more like a walk, Kluver.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, I mean, that's therapeutic. And it's got to be part of the routine. And but yeah, it's just a way to decompress and give some thought to what just took place with practice, and then what the rest of your day looks like. But yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So I want to go back and then kind of recap a little bit. We started this podcast off talking about when you took over the punt team. The next year you take over the linebackers room. Then 2 years later, you're the co-defensive coordinator. Now you're the assistant head coach. It seems like everything you've been delegated, you've just crushed out of the park, right? Like you said, linebackers are in the healthiest spot you could possibly imagine for a linebacker room in the country. Defense has been a top performing defense for the last however many years. What does this new position look like for you? Like, what does an assistant head coach do? I don't even
know. Probably, and I shouldn't say probably, but there's, it's not like this has been around very long. And, certainly, our head coach is, he's got this thing figured out. And I'm talking about like every aspect of it. So I don't think that there needs to be, somebody that is, trying to do his job. I think if anything, it's probably providing some opinion in regards to some things, maybe trying to cut some stuff off at the pass before it gets to him, just and then just making sure that you're visible amongst the team and visible amongst the staff. And I don't know that there's a whole lot of overthinking that comes with it. And certainly there's no blueprint, and nothing was put on my desk in terms of additional responsibility. I just think it's probably an example of years of service, the opinions that I have provided. I've been in many different capacities here, starting back when I was initially hired. I came back and replaced Eric Johnson, and one of my roles then was as the recruiting coordinator.
Yep.
So I think along the line, and along the path, my opinion, I've certainly shared it, because that's who I am. It's who I've always been, and I've always felt. But I also have a pretty good knowledge of this place too, being here in even more capacity than what I shared coming back in 2014, being here as a graduate assistant, and then having that work relationship that I've had with Phil. And but there's a lot that goes into a lot of things. And but I think I've always tried to make sure that you don't get too far ahead of yourself, don't get too far ahead of your skis. And I've somebody put it in one of my deals, just water the grass that's beneath your feet, and I think the rest will probably take care of itself. So I know that's not the answer you're probably looking for. You're probably looking for a lot of other bullshit.
No, I was hoping to say that you enjoyed Boston Phil around now, but well, whatever. We'll take that answer too.
No, I'm
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I know where I'm at.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yep. But in going back to Phil, you talk about just, and Coach mentioned it the other day in his press conference, but, and I'll mention it on here because this will hit a different fan. But, just think about, the recognition that has been so deserving for so many years, that he finally got this past year with that Broyles Award.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, that's not easy to win, and certainly not easy to win at Iowa, but, something that he's for a long time deserved. I think Norm never won the award, I don't believe. I think he was a finalist one year, which was unfortunate because he deserved it as well. But yeah, it's just having the opportunity to work alongside him, and our defensive staff. Like, our defensive staff is as unique as it comes. And we hired a couple GAs this past year, and this is the first year that we've had to hire a GA that didn't play for us. And we've gone through, Jacob Sabaka, we've gone through, Will Anthony. We've gone through Miles Taylor. Jack Kerner was with us for a year. I think he figured out pretty quick. His desk was cleaned out shortly after the bowl game, so I think he figured out real quick that that's probably not what he wanted to do career-wise. But Adam Cox, Adam Cox was a GA for us. He's still pissed off that I had Macon in the Shield before him. I just thought they could jump over Coxie. You know what I mean?
They could, dude.
Stature, yeah. You know what I mean?
You can't put little people in the Shield. That's not good ball right there. This is a dumb question probably to most coaches, especially you, after you described growing up as a coach's son and it's all you've ever known. I'm going to assume that you have head coach of a program in your sights someday. Although you look at Phil, and you probably more than anybody are right there when all the opportunities have come for him. He could have been the head coach of probably all of the 133 other FBS programs at this point. But he hasn't done it. He's just stayed in Iowa City, and he's a large reason for our success. Do you want to be a head coach? How do we keep you in Iowa City? And I don't want to lose Coach Wallace. I want you to be a Hawkeye forever, but I know it's probably not possible.
Let's start with let's highlight like Phil's, and I admire Phil in a lot of ways. I really have an admiration for he and his family, and to be able to do what he's done. Like, he is the unicorn. Coach Ferentz is the unicorn.
Crazy.
Phil's the unicorn. Like, it just doesn't happen in college football these days. And quite frankly, our athletic department in a lot of ways, for the same reason that they're unicorns, that speaks to Iowa, speaks to the state of Iowa, speaks to university, speaks to the
Iowa's different for sure.
And that certainly speaks to to Coach Ferentz and to Phil, and for him to be able to do it at one school for as long as he's done it is pretty fascinating, especially in the world that we live in these days. And but in terms of being a head coach, I don't know that I've given a ton of thought to it. I do think it's a byproduct of doing your job and doing it as well as you can on a daily basis. And I think those opportunities, do they happen by luck? No. However, I do think timing and there's a lot of factors that go into it. And I know I'm giving you some sloppy answer to
You're
something
giving
that
us
you
the
were
runaround, coach.
You were looking.
Sorry, it's okay. LeVar just skirted right around it too, and we expect
that just proves that you're ready to be a head coach. You give a political answer like that.
It's exactly as Kevin said.
But if something, if anything of that significance, comes across your desk, and you certainly have to give it, a ton of thought. But the factors that lie within that thinking, to me, that's a wide variety. And I just think you cross that bridge when you get there, and just keep trying to kick ass, and keep trying to make sure that the defense is on point, and the linebackers aren't screwing shit up. And you do that time and time again, then you get recognized for it. And but at the end of the day, this is there isn't a better place in the world to be working. I can assure you that, and I've shared with you, many reasons why. But Kirk Ferentz needs to do it for another 10 years.
Agreed.
Agreed. I think that'd make him 70. I think that'd make him 77.
Although
I don't know.
I there's a part of me that, as much as I wish he could coach, as much as I would, he's going to turn 69 on August 1st. I think
make him 79. My math better now, but
I want him to. You want the guy to at some point enjoy retirement too. It's just like.
Well, I'll tell you what, the conversation that I had with Coach Ferentz at Ben Niemann's wedding, he looked me in my eyes and said, "I'm not going anywhere." So that's all I needed to hear.
You think he's going to divulge information to you, Drake?
Well, he knows I'm the smallest mouth out of the three. I'm the one that doesn't have the access to the media.
I don't think he's that in tune with the inner workings of the Washed Up Walk-On podcast. So
well, then he wouldn't be worried about telling me now, would he?
I do know he's listened to at least 2 episodes. So, and Coach, you text us occasionally that you listen. I don't know what the hell you're doing with your time that you put us on in your ears. You must be mowing the yard or something. But
okay, so we made the trip to Nashville. My wife and I did for a wedding.
That city stinks, by the way.
What's that?
That city stinks.
You're not a fan of it, Drake?
Nah, man.
Pissed you off?
It's just the infrastructure and the tourism makes it just unlivable.
I wasn't living there. I was just enjoying it for a few days. So I did do that. My wife and I did, but in order to make the trip a little bit better, in the car, we decided, okay, Spencer Lee, he's got to be at the top of the list.
Oh, yeah.
And then Cooper DeJean. And I'm trying to think, we listened to one we went way back. I'm trying to think of which one it was. But anyway, those were the 2 highlights. Spencer Lee, my wife still talks about it. This guy's never had alcohol, never had a donut.
He's
wait. He's never had a donut?
That's what he told us.
Know that, Drake, if you were on the podcast.
Winning the Olympics is not worth never having a donut, and I'm just going to lay that out there right now.
It might be. We'll see.
That's why he's a national champion and you're not.
Dude, yeah. But guess what? I've eaten so many maple glazed Krispy Kremes, and I'm winning way over him.
So being the assistant head coach, did you take that and was go to Kirk Ferentz and be like, Coach, we gotta get rid of these donuts in this place. All right. We can't be having these
first thing in the special teams meeting. Treats. All right, here's the fucking deal. It's the want versus the will, okay? And put the fucking donuts down.
Friday nights are not going to be the same in the hotel. All the burgers and ice cream gone. They're now eating tofu and fucking chickpeas.
The difference is we need those donuts for some guys to make weight. As you guys can remember, where I don't know that Spencer's trying to add any pounds to his
Coach
body.
Brady Ross told us that he was playing at 270.
No.
266 the morning that we played North Dakota State. I saw the scale myself.
No shit.
266. I saw the scale.
Yeah, it was what, 15, 20 pounds above his goal weight.
Yeah.
You said you just demolished the Friday night dinner at the hotel and then the burgers and ice cream for snack afterwards.
No shit.
Yeah. Speaking of, is Jennings
that's a lot of weight put on.
That's
24
insane.
Hours now.
Is Jennings Dunker human?
Yeah, I recruited Jennings. So yeah, he's human. He's human enough that his senior prank was he brought a bunch of ducks into the high school and cut them freaking loose. So yeah, he's human. He actually might be more. He's definitely human. He might be still a child. Yeah, who the hell does that? Then you got ducks shitting everywhere.
That's Coach. That's the
point. How do you handle that? Because as a coach, you're supposed to be mad about it, but that's objectively hilarious.
He had already signed his scholarship too, so it wasn't like we could go back on it.
You wouldn't have anyways.
The only thing, everything I see about that guy is that he's just he's a future world strongman winner. He didn't
win the hay bale toss.
No, he didn't.
No, well, he didn't do it.
Oh,
he didn't do it, Drake. No, he had some type of cleanup on his shoulder, I'm sure, or something, which held him out of it. And yeah, otherwise he would have. He loves getting dressed up in those short jean shorts. I'm talking frayed at the bottom. The plaid shirt that's cut off on the sleeves. Because if you ever run into him in the facility, he likely will not tell you hello. He'll just say, "Hey, look at my biceps," flex for you. This guy's on it. I keep telling him, just worry about blocking somebody, pal. Make Lena, Illinois proud of you blocking, not the size of your biceps.
He is huge though. How fast? We don't want to keep you much longer, but how
we'll go all day.
Oh, don't tell me that because I got time.
Send Josie a text. Get his ass on here.
Oh, I will. I should send Josie a text to invite him in. How quickly do you think "get your pads down" will come out of your mouth when camp starts here later this week? And is that your go-to?
That's old, man. That was back when 2014. Seth was working the defensive line.
Hey, but low pads are great everywhere, Kev.
Yeah, I've actually transitioned to more get your eyes down.
Oh,
you know what I mean? I just think that brings with it your pads.
Your power is where your eyes are, right?
Yep. Your power is where your eyes are.
Still got it.
There you go, Kevin. Some things will never change. But that and demeanor, and then the want to, the willingness will eventually fail you. But if you want to get something done and it matters to you that much, then those are the three. You've already hit on them, but that
was probably my favorite. My favorite Coach Wallace lesson was the will versus the want.
Coach, you'll appreciate this. My high school linebackers coach, defensive coordinator, his line was knee benders or jaw breakers.
There you go.
You get your knee, you get your hips down, you accelerate up and through them, you break their jaw.
Positive shin angle.
Yep. Can we talk about breaking jaws anymore, Drake?
That's what I'm trying to do for a living, man.
Yeah, I know you are.
Jaws. Yeah,
I know you are. We're still in the state-funded education sector.
This podcast does not affiliate with.
I understand
University
that,
of Iowa or any of its sectors.
I'm sitting in the facility right here.
You just leave the jaw breaking to me, Coach.
Yes, there you go. I'll pipe you in for a linebacker meeting, and you can give them that same deal.
How long is camp this year? Like, when do you guys start? When this comes out, you'll already be 5 practices in. I mean, it happens fast.
So this is we're doing this on Sunday. We're in the office tomorrow on Monday. Players report on Tuesday, and then we're practicing Wednesday. Yeah, we'll see how this gets received. But my wife and I are taking the linebackers out for dinner on Monday evening. We've never done it this way, but we're doing it only because our vacations kind of screwed some things up with having guys over to the house. But we'll take them down to the chop house and get them a big ass steak. Try to order a steak bigger than your head is what I
want to know what that tab's going to be at the end of the night.
Yeah, we're not taking Jennings Dunker, and we're not, and some of these guys probably gonna need to be on weight the next day. So,
have any fullbacks been invited to the linebacker dinner since Brady Ross and I?
How about that? How about when you guys made an appearance?
That's called wedding crashers, baby.
Yes, but it was well received.
Of course,
the relationships were so strong.
Yeah,
that these guys didn't mind you guys coming over and stealing the food.
By that point,
that's an all-timer. That's never happened again. Oh, yeah. Ike's on here. He should be blocking somebody right now.
Hello,
Ike. You should be blocking the shit out of Jack Campbell right now.
Tomorrow.
Putting him on his ass. And then remind him.
That's Cedar Falls on Cedar Falls crime right there. CF crime.
It's going great. I love it here. I've got some work to do until I'm blocking Jack in practice, though.
Yeah. Are you laying down like on your chest right now? Like, what's going on? Are you sitting up?
No, I'm just my bed.
Oh, it looked like you were getting a massage or something. Which wouldn't be all that bad.
All right, boys.
You're enjoying it?
Yeah, I love it here.
Boys.
There in Detroit.
The Slappy is here.
Oh, no.
Look at this.
Who's coming in now?
The hell's going on?
Has this guy made a tackle yet?
No.
In fucking Carolina, has he made a tackle yet?
I'm tackleless.
Tackleless. They're not letting you tackle anybody yet.
No, we're not touching anybody really too crazy yet. Are you guys doing a thing right now?
Yeah, we're recording a podcast.
Yeah, we're recording. Yeah.
Audio, man.
What's crazy is
your hair before you came on.
See, Ike. Oh, what's crazy is Coach said you're the worst linebacker that he had in his last 10 years.
He did say that, yeah.
That's tough. It's unfortunate. I wish it wasn't me, but it is. Kevin, you hopped on late there. You probably me and you maybe.
I was just above you, actually. I came just above you.
Okay, good enough.
He said that you couldn't play the power, so I was just above you.
That's true. I agree with that. It's good quality play, Kev. Good quality play.
We asked him, and Coach Wallace agrees that you have poor lateral mobility. What they exactly what they said in your draft profile.
Oh, I feel like every time I listen to all you guys are talking about is either one of us from the house or my lateral mobility being
if it was any better.
We're two trick pony there, Josie. That's pretty much all we got.
That's fine. That's okay. I understand. It's true, somewhat. So I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right. So now that he's here, I was going to ask you this question earlier, but who's better, Josie or Jack, and why is it Jack?
He's just bigger and faster. Let's be honest.
You got to be shitting me. No. Yeah, both of them were. Yeah, both of them were.
Yeah, that's not an answer.
No, both of them were the best at that point in time, in my opinion. Like without a doubt. Like one got some award that signified that he was the best. The other one collected some awards as well. But yeah, they were. Yeah, you can't talk about one without the other in one person's opinion. Like it's just
Jack was smarter though.
And that's what's no, I wouldn't say that either.
Better looking.
I know you guys are really trying to get me to get into one with the guy on the screen, but
it's not going to happen. I don't care what you say.
In fact, I just watched it the other day. It showed up on freaking Big Ten Media Days when you intercepted that slap at the guy at Penn State.
McSorley.
Yeah, McSorley. When you intercepted him and then you proceeded to take the baseball swing.
His face?
Like, was that not freaking? That was an all timer. Like
that was
an
pretty
absolute all timer. It was not choreographed. Like it was. Yeah, I mean, shit like that. That's the goal line stand at Rutgers where Josie made every single tackle.
I watched. Yeah. Oh, okay. I actually watched that the other day too. That was on, and you were good, Josie. I forgot how good you were. That was good.
You were, bro. Josie getting shit on.
He just went for a better deal to go to Carolina.
I don't. It's about me. I'm not in the NFL. It's not relevant to me anymore. I only care about
your guy over there in Denver's missing you though. Did you see that?
Yeah. I saw some of his quotes and stuff like that. I still text him daily. Or not daily, but every other day, a couple times a week at least.
Sounds like it. Yeah. Sounds like he's still saying your name out on the field.
Yeah. No, he's good stuff. I'm sure it'll be a little bit different for him just because it's a new kid that hasn't been playing that defense for a long time. So it'll be interesting how they do. But no, I appreciate all the past tense references, guys. I really enjoy those. They're lovely.
No problem.
Whatever you would say, Coach, I wouldn't care. Whoever's better is better. I understand what you're going for there, but I wouldn't care either way. I wouldn't get mad. So
that's Coach, and that's bullshit because he used to go to Twitter and read his name.
No,
Josie's gonna get off this show and he's gonna go, Coach. He's gonna write down Coach Wallace doesn't love me as much as Jack Campbell.
This guy,
and he's gonna come back to his house. He's gonna hang it on his garage door and he's gonna use it as motivation. Josie, that's it, and that's fine. Joe's, it's what makes the greats great is they can manufacture motivation and a chip on their shoulder from any situation, and that's you.
Yeah.
And and in the end, we only make fun of you on this podcast because your talent on the football field is 10 times greater than the three of ours was combined.
Okay, don't pump me up now. We don't need any of that. So, well, what episode did you guys do before this one? Is there another one is there an active one I'm listening to here soon?
No. Coach Wallace is the last one. Then we're closing up shop. We're done forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no more walk-ons in college football.
Oh yeah.
You see that, Josie?
Is that actually true?
Yes.
It's gonna cut into the population of walk-ons significantly.
Doesn't make sense. How does that happen?
There's just a roster limit.
They're taking a roster that ours fluctuates around 127, taking it down to 105.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get
you. Yep. So
that would be
instead of having 50, instead of having 40 walk-ons, now you're down to 20. But now you can actually pay for every 105 on the roster. You can split up scholarships. So these guys are all worried about us going out and getting all these 3 stars and eliminating the Cloovers and the Wards and the Kulicks.
And what that means, Josie, as
I think I was a part of that, wasn't I?
You got a scholarship, dickhead.
Yeah,
Don't try to act like you're
scholarship.
one of us.
He got it on the last. Was
wait a
jumping up
second.
on the staff table for him.
I never said anything about me not getting getting a scholarship. I never said that. I'm talking about 2 stars and stuff like that.
Oh, 2 stars. Yeah, definitely. There was
Josie.
I don't even think they gave me a star.
No.
They didn't know where Decorah was.
They still
That's true. That's true. I still remember when you and I gave me books. That was the most mad I've ever seen my mom in my life.
I think Drake got books from you and I too.
No, I got more money from you and I than Josie did, and that
Who
really
is-
says.
there you go, Drake.
Coach? Who was that D-line coach there? That shoot. I can't remember his name. No, but I
Josie,
still remember.
As a successful patron that came out of Decorah, now you own Decorah, basically pretty much own Northwest Iowa. The University of Iowa is going to be seeking some contribution from you. We could put your name on the wall, but we need to pay for those last 20 roster spots. The swarm takes donations 24/7. Congrats on a new contract, by the way. And
You're ridiculous. I need to get off of here.
yeah, you do.
All right, Josie, enjoy camp,
I
buddy.
appreciate you guys. We'll talk
Later,
to you guys
brother.
later.
Yeah,
Have a good one. Good seeing you, Coach.
Yep.
Isn't he ugly?
Oh man, I tell you, he is. So let me give you this one. So Kevin and Bo,
yeah,
they went golfing with our offensive line coach and his kid.
Yes, we did.
You did?
And you guys had,
not intentionally, no.
Yeah, not intentionally. It was 2 twosomes that were paired together at Finkbine.
Oh,
The first tee time out of Finkbine, yeah. Bo's
Yes.
hung over his shit.
with
Bo's hung over. Yeah. It's his sister's wedding that weekend. So he had the rehearsal dinner the night before, and he wanted to golf that morning. Yeah, he was feeling pretty rough.
Yeah, the turnaround on trying to put that together on an early tee time is
It never works well.
no, especially for but I get I get a text message afterwards. And George was like he thought it was awesome. And his son James is a little bit of a pistol.
Then he fit right on in.
I mean, just pounds the ball.
He
and
crushes
hit
it.
the shit out of it.
he also is
doesn't always-
elite at shot put or something
He
like
is.
that.
He is.
He's a big kid. He introduced me to his son. I thought he's a freshman in college. He's a freshman in high school.
Right. And he just, sometimes he doesn't, get a line properly. The ball goes flying. I've been with him one time, but I get a text message afterwards. And they were, and George was just, they had a good time. Good. But he said, Bo is who your son wants to be.
Oh no.
And Kevin is who you want your son to be.
That is
not like UAT?
That
is perfectly stated.
That's the most spot on thing I've ever heard. It's the most spot on thing I've ever heard.
Oh shit. I read that and I'm like, man, he pegged it. Absolutely.
Coach,
pegged it.
We went to Vegas for Kevin's bachelor party, and you should have seen Bo in Vegas. You can imagine.
Oh, I wish I was there for 12 hours and then tapping.
Dude, it was unbelievable. He was wearing pit vipers and a cowboy hat the entire time.
No, he wasn't.
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
And it was out of control.
They don't make him like Bo Bauer.
No, they don't.
They don't make him like Reese Morgan, and they don't make him like Bo Bauer. Those are two true statements.
Yes, you're not going to clone either one of them. Something will break down in the process.
It's gotta be one of the more fun aspects of your jobs, though. You see like a ton of characters come through each year.
Oh my gosh.
You don't get Bo Bowers, you don't get Jennings Dunkers, you don't get I don't know, there's Brady Rosses or the Paulson twins. Like that's
great.
Yeah, that's why they got this thing screwed up. You start minimizing the opportunity to be around, so you minimize it by 20 across the country. Think about that. And there's other good coaches out there, other good staffs. Like, this is a hell of an opportunity for kids to be around a game that, changes lives and changes, your way of thinking and changes, your outlook on the next 60 years of your life. And here we are just saying, okay, we'll just minimize it by freaking 20. Like, how stupid is that? I don't get the idea behind it. I really don't. And everything that you guys are talking about, is factored into that 120 or that decision. We'll see what happens, but yeah, those stories will, whether they're Jennings dunkers playing or him being recruited or you and Bo, because Bo came in as a walk-on, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it just, so I don't know.
Mentioned
we'll figure it out.
You mentioned the playoff system earlier when we were talking about going to the new system and how the FCS, they've had playoff system in there and where D1 is finally caught up. Do you even have a chance to think about that or care about it? Or you're just like, you know what, we get to the end of the season. The goal is to win every game. And if whatever our record is at the time puts us in contention for that, like, now we worry about that when it comes.
Yeah, I think so. And you guys were around for that 15 season. Like, I don't think people were talking about us in that regard prior to that season starting.
They were not.
Head coach's head.
Right. And then, here we are 10 years later, however many years later, obviously there's more to talk about. There's more platforms to, and then there's more people wanting to put people on pedestals, quite frankly, that, just kind of allow it to happen. Just try not to do too much proclamating and things of that nature. But, I don't think so at all, Kloof. I think you've been around this program enough to know that, we'll be lined up against Illinois State, and it'll be the biggest game.
I know.
It'll be the biggest game of the year. And that's how it should be. That's how we'll have our players thinking. Because really, quite frankly, that's all that matters going into that week and that Saturday. And
it's not like bullshit either. You don't just have them thinking it. This is something I want to get across to people who listen. We've talked about the coach's ability to set the table each week, if you will. And I don't want people thinking that you guys are like gaslighting us. It's like, you guys find a way, something to hang on to from Illinois State, from Iowa State, from Troy, from whoever you have on the schedule, where you're like, you guys convince yourself like, oh, fuck, this isn't good. Like, this is life or death this week. And then you guys relay that to the GAs and the managers. And it's a vibe and a feeling inside the complex of the facility where it's like, you feel it and the players feel it. And then by the time you get to game, everybody believes it. It's not, and Coach Ferentz believes it, and everyone's on the same page. It's not like the staff and Coach Ferentz are like, all right, we got to make them think that Illinois State's good this week. No, it's like you guys find a way to make that reality, and you find the truth in that. And there were times where I know for a fact there were teams we played where you're like, we'll be real honest here. This part of this team is not that, they're not that good. We would walk into special teams meetings all the time, and the way that you guys phrase something like that would be like, we got a real opportunity on punt this week, or we got a real opportunity on kick return this week, because this team is not up to where they should be. There's some gaps and some places to take advantage of. It's real. Like, you guys, it's not you guys just lying to us. And it's again, it's just this crazy way of like creating buy-in that it's hard to explain from the outside or from the inside to someone who has never been there before. But when you have a belief that is shared throughout the facility like that, it is a very powerful thing. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's plenty of examples over the course of, and that's the fortunate thing about being in one place for many years, is there's plenty of examples of where you leave the door a little bit open and you leave it cracked, and somebody's going to take advantage of it. And that somebody, quite frankly, is anybody that you could line up against on Saturday, regardless of what conference, regardless of what division. Like, it just you leave the door cracked, and then you leave it unmanned, the result could likely be, what we've dealt with, many, many times and time and time again is, you're down here in the fourth quarter, fighting your ass off to try to finish one out. And you go back and you look at it, and there was that play in the second quarter, that play in the third quarter that kind of, put you in that position. And when you have those reminders and you get a chance to go back into your library and provide them to your players, that's how you create that, that sense of, just a slight uncomfort going into a game, which, allows you, a little bit more focus and more protection in terms of what you're trying to get done.
And the fans don't get that. You go to the grocery store, Coach Wallace goes to buy some eggs and milk for the week. You hear you hear a couple people at the checkout aisle. They're like, "Oh, we're gonna kill. We're Illinois State. Can't wait to tailgate this weekend. We're gonna kill them. It's gonna be great. Easy game to start the year." And it's just like, oh my god, oh no. So this is not the way it is.
During the season, I'll let my wife go to the grocery store. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just so I don't have to hear that shit.
Kevin and I during the season, there's one all-timer before that 2016 Michigan game. After we got slapped by Penn State, we came back, and Kevin and I were out at Walmart.
I think we're buying
before that
Call of Duty game or something.
We were buying the latest Call of Duty game that had just come out, and there was a guy who did not know that we were on the team. Which why would you? We were very, very unsuspecting. And he was like, well, I think we were wearing Iowa shirts though. And he goes, "So you guys excited for the game against Michigan this week?" And we're like, it should be a good one. And just general fan discussion. He's like, "Well, Hawks are going to need a prayer. They're going to need a prayer this weekend." And Kevin and I just looked at each other like, yeah, we might need a prayer. We got one that day somehow.
We got a prayer.
Brady Ross. We got Brady Ross that day. That's who we had. Fumble out of half.
Brady Ross, Jaleel Johnson, safety.
Manny Rugamba.
Yep.
Yep.
There's good stuff that took place that day.
Is Drake even still with us? Drake, are you just?
I'm here. I'm just listening.
I didn't know if you died or fell asleep. I don't have anything else left for Coach, other than 10 hours worth. But
so Abdul Hodge joined the staff last year. Does he ever poke his head in the linebackers room? Because I feel like he's kind of earned that right. His picture is on the back wall there.
It is on the back wall, and there's not. I might skip a day every now and then, but there's not too many days that go by that I'm not reminded that he's on staff, that he's coaching the position that we have to go against, 9 times out of 10 when it comes to blocking schemes. So I'm reminded of it. He does, I think Abdul and I share a pretty unique relationship because Abdul, when he was trying to get back into coaching, this would have been maybe when you guys were actually here, but he would come back on,
I remember,
a couple stints for a week. He would sit in there. He would, he once spoke to the linebacker unit, gave him the floor. And so it's pretty unique. And it's, I think we're unbelievably fortunate to have guys like Abdul and LeVar and Liddell and Kelvin and guys that have, they've worn the fabric here. They're part of every little bit of this. And they're all guys that have come up through, coach's tenure. And now they're on the staff, but, Abdul specifically, it's a little bit different because we go against that position every day. And I'm sure he's sitting there. Not only is he tutoring the tight ends and he's done a hell of a job with those guys, but I'm sure he's sitting there thinking, well, shit, that linebacker should have done this or he should have done that. So yeah, he's a real good resource to have. And he's doing a hell of a job with the tight ends, as we well know.
How is it coaching the other side of the ball that you play? Because you were a receiver back in college, and then you come up being a defensive coach. So you feel like that, I don't know, did it feel kind of backwards when you first started coaching, or do you feel like it gets kind of across the edge, like knowing what the other side is teaching?
I don't want to shit on or diminish my own career.
Well, we give it all the time here, so I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm
Kind
right
of the
there
name of
with
the
you.
game for this thing, but
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But no, I don't know that I've really ever thought of it that way. Although that was kind of the direction I was heading in when I when I got into coaching. And then, like I said, I had the unbelievable fortune of being hired here by Kirk Ferentz and Norm Parker. And then I was actually here, short story, I was here for a year, working with Phil in the secondary, and got offered a job, two different ones. I won't say where or what they were, but they would have been better jobs for myself, at that point in time from a financial standpoint, obviously. And then my wife and I were shortly into our marriage. So it would have made sense then too, like, hey, just get on. But at that point in time, like, learning what I have learned and what I did learn in those 3 years being a GA from Norm Parker and Phil Parker, in regards to defensive football, was like, I mean, it was no different than going and getting your doctorate, in whatever medical realm, So that is, that's where I've gained like this appreciation. Now, does it help having a little bit of offensive knowledge? Yes, it does. But the offensive game has evolved so much that I just think, being, having that comfort in what you really truly believe in defensively has been more important than having a little bit of offensive background.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
Grant,
you got to be shitting me. So you got to sit there quiet. Do they tell you to sit there quiet through this whole thing? Like, is it that type of?
I think I'm allowed to chime in, but it's no one's here to listen to me.
Bullshit, Grant.
Not,
like they tell you not to say shit until the end. Until they say until Kluver goes, Grant.
Hey, I mean, I don't know. It's not about me.
Snap the freaking ball, Kluver.
Yeah, Coach Lee, you've been doing this for a long time, a lot of different position groups. Is there anything in your coaching style or philosophy that has stayed consistent since like Coe College to now, or is it constantly evolving?
I do think it's evolving. And I would say that, when I left college, like, I still was, I still had really no, I don't know that my beliefs were, very concrete when I left college, and I'm glad that they weren't, quite frankly. And I'm glad that, that I didn't think that I knew, everything about football. And I do know there's a lot of similarities that I probably do share, that I got from my father. And then there's certainly many that I don't. I still to this day can probably count on one hand the amount of times that my father's cursed, which I can get that done about the first 5 minutes of a linebacker meeting or punt meeting. So there are some real unbelievable qualities that I think I've gotten from my father, and from a coaching standpoint that I continue to have up to this point. But my beliefs really got solidified when I came here, in the winter of 2006. I just think, I was completely consumed with everything that this place was, and all those that were around me. And, again, I can't minimize, and I would never minimize, like, the impact that Norm Parker had on me and the opportunity that he provided me, and then what has come, with that, my chance to be around Phil. But I think a lot of my beliefs were forged through those experiences, and they're still with me today.
And I saw, you're from Kentucky a little bit. I've been to Danville, Kentucky. I played in the SAW. I went to Rhodes College for a little bit and played center.
Okay, there you go.
Do you keep up with the SAW anymore? Are you still following D3 football at all?
No.
Okay.
I probably should, right? You can call me an idiot. That's fine. But no, I don't. And I probably should. That portion of my career was, it's part of growing up a coach's kid. Like, that's where I was born. That's where
what does that stand for, Grant? The SAW
is the Southern Athletic Association.
Okay.
As everyone knows, obviously.
Yeah. However, Grant, I can assure you that I've been to every single school that you would have competed against, being at Rhodes. Because my mother would load my brother and I up and our friends, and we would go to every single one of my father's games. We'd drive it by car. So whether it be back when we were in Kentucky at Center College, or whether it be when we were here in Iowa, Grinnell College, like that was our Friday and Saturday. And more times than not, it was our Saturday. Like we were leaving, at the ass crack of dawn, and we were on the road, and we were getting to Beloit, Wisconsin, Ripon, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, Chicago, Lake Forest, Illinois, in Chicago. Like that was our life.
Yeah, but no, I just had to
that
take
question.
Yeah, I had to say this is the maybe one opportunity ever that I could integrate Division III football into an episode. So I had to take opportunity with that. Thank
There you go.
But I appreciate you giving us all your time.
No, appreciate you, Grant.
Drake, you got anything you want to leave us with?
I just love Coach, man. I just appreciate being able to get on here and catch up, man.
All right.
Great. I appreciate you. And again, for the three of you, as I said at the beginning, and you guys kind of jumped my ass about it, but I think this thing's great. I think it reaches so many, so many different people, and obviously our fans, but what you guys are doing and the people that you're getting on this thing, and you guys are well over 500 episodes, correct?
Yeah.
I mean,
How about it?
Yeah, it's a hell of a deal. And, I'm glad to have been on, and, hopefully, a couple people will listen and
hopefully you'll get us that all 22 film.
Yeah. I'll be working on that.
Numbers go up after that.
I'm going to go meet with Bob. I'm surprised you haven't reached out to him yet.
I thought about
backdoor the whole thing.
I'll be fully transparent here.
Okay.
When we first had the idea, I thought, you know what? I bet Bob would give it to me. He is still the head guy, right?
Yeah.
And then I thought, probably shouldn't reach out to him, because if I reach out to him, the people who have, like a little bit of say in that stuff above Bob, they know that I'm smart enough that Bob isn't the only one that has to give the go ahead on passing that out. Right.
Right.
So then I figure, well, if I just do that, that's going to strain a relationship a little bit of trying to go around the horn. And then I was like, I got scared. I just got scared. I don't know who to ask. I'm just a long snapper.
I'm glad you feel the comfort in asking me if I can figure out a way to get this done. And the asterisk next to this would be like, you guys can't be shitting all over us.
That's why you can choose the play. It can be a good play.
Oh,
so
ideally, play. I mean, what do you want me to do?
I mean, it can't be one of these ones where like Jay Higgins trips, misses a tackle, ball carrier runs it in. Like, you guys are
ideally
no shit. You don't need the all 22 to see that shit.
No. Ideally, it would be just like this podcast is on a macro level. It would be something to highlight a good play, a good effort, a good read, something like that. And we're not asking for the whole film. I don't want it. We don't have time for that. Kevin would take like 10 minutes to kind of give his thoughts on one play. Drake could maybe give some offensive perspective.
I'm not even here anymore, dog.
It's true. You're not.
That's right. Yeah, he's going by.
And if we can get Kevin the signals prior to.
Oh, God.
Then, you know what I mean?
Oh, now we're in business.
Now we're cooking with gas.
I mean, that's the millions of people that would watch that. I'd even give you some kickback. We help keep you around here. No one else will hire you as a head coach. We're not going to take up any more time. This is 2 hours. As you guys listening can tell, we could go for 10 hours with Coach Wallace. We are appreciative, just as appreciative, more than you are. I don't know why you would. I know you're just you make us feel good by saying you appreciate us, having you on here. This is like, we did 500 episodes so that we could get you on here, so that we could prove it was worth your time, basically. So we are super stoked to do this, and hopefully we can have you on again, maybe next summer. And
would love it.
It's all we want. It's all
would love it. 2 hours with you guys 2 hours with you guys is all I need is a beer. But
Should have had one.
I know, probably should have, Drake. Probably will next time when we do this at the 600th episode. And we'll do it.
Maybe if you have a beer or two, you won't beat around the fucking bush so many times.
I thought he was pretty forthcoming with us.
I know. I just had to give him some smoke, man.
All right, everybody listening, thank you for being here. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Obviously, you did. We'll be back next week with another guest, maybe Hewlett or somebody else that I have lined up. Can't remember. Talk then. Till then, peace.